So I am here with Ottis Anderson. He's an American former professional football player who's a running back in the National Football League for 14 seasons with the St. Louis Cardinals and New York Giants. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today, Ryan?
I'm excellent. Thank you so much for taking the time. This is my first time interview. Where are you from originally?
West Palm Beach, Florida.
Oh, I spent a lot of time in West Palm Beach. Like it's a beautiful area. What was it like growing up in West Palm Beach?
Well, a lot has changed, but when I was a kid, it was one of the most exciting places to be, living in the project where you had all your friends and did all your damages at that young age. But the fact that it has definitely changed from the time that I was there, um, it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about um, what kind of dreams you can have and to follow your dreams and never give up on them. So it ground me pretty good.
You were a track and football star at Forest Hills High School.
I did. I did play football there. We had a track program that was somewhat suspect, but we did try to make an attempt to run track, but mostly football and basketball.
And then you got a scholarship to the University of Miami. What made you decide that particular school? Because I'm sure you had lots of offers.
I did. I had offers from Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kansas, Colorado, all the Big Ten, Big Eight, Big 12 back in the day. And then you had all the Florida school. The fact that Miami promised me an opportunity to start as a freshman and that they told me I was the only running back they had went out and recruited, which was a lie, but that's how they sold me. And then also the fact that I was an hour, 45 minutes away from home in West Palm Beach. So it made a lot of sense to me to go to a school that played all of the big conferences and also was a pipeline to athletes getting a chance to go pro.
Right. And you you broke Chuck Foreman's career rushing record, correct?
I did. Chuck was a great mentor. When I was a sophomore, I believe he would come down to the school and watch us during our off-season workout program. And I remember he gave me my first pair of turf shoes that I treasured back then, and it was exciting to get a pair of professional turf shoes to play on turf.
Definitely. So at the University of Miami, you started playing like right away.
I did. I actually played out of position my freshman year. I played fullback at 185 pounds and played against number one Nebraska, number two Oklahoma, number three Notre Dame. We played University of Colorado. We played Penn State, Alabama. So being independent gave us an opportunity to play all of those schools. Didn't do well against all of those schools, but it was a great introduction to a lot of our players because when team came there to visit and look at players from those schools, they saw us. They saw certain players playing against them doing well, and then they inquired about us. So it gave us an opportunity.
And you actually graduated, correct?
Yeah, went 4 years in, 4 years out, graduated with my freshman class, which consists of Kenny Johnson, Gene Coleman, Herb Jackson. We all came in as freshmen. We made a pact that we would graduate the same time. We made a pact that we will forever stay close like brothers, and we have been ever since. We normally talk to one another at least once a month or more, or maybe twice a month.
Man, that's amazing that you form those lifelong bonds from college. Like I still talk to a lot of my friends from college. I think it's a really, important aspect. What do you think about nowadays, like the NIL rules?
I think finally they're allowing the players to capitalize on what the school has been doing for years. They've been pimping us for years. They tell us that we're there for education and then athletics, but in reality, it's athletics and then education. And I mean, look at what these coaches were making off of these players when they signed these deals with Nike and Reebok and you know, Converse back in the day. Coaches were paid millions of dollars to wear their sneakers, but they weren't playing. But they made a deal with the coaches and the school put those shoes on our feet. So we had no say so as far as if we wanted to wear shoes of a different company or a different brand. We couldn't do that because the school had contracts.
So you finished like when you graduated, like it was the all-time leading rusher in school history. What was that feeling like?
Well, you know, Chuck Foreman had been the single season rushing record holder for many years, and my single season rushing record is still number one in the school. My overall record was broken by Duke Johnson going back maybe about 5, 6 years, 10 years, I don't know. But I held it for 35 years. And that means, you know, the likeness of Highsmith, Elder James, uh, who was some of the Melvin Bratton, McGahee, Gore, all of those guys came through the program behind me, and none of those guys broke my record. So I felt good to know that I held it for 35 years.
So pretty much at the end of your senior year, you knew you were pretty much like, going to be drafted in the NFL.
Well, I wasn't sure because my senior year, there was like a little scouting report came out that said that I'll probably be a second round, third, fourth round draft pick. They weren't clear about what position I was going to play. Was it going to be fullback or halfback? Because I grew from 5'11" to 6'2.5". I went from 185 to 215. I was running 4.4 in the 40, but they weren't sure what position I would be because of my size. And they didn't think I would be a first round draft pick, but you know, they were wrong. I was first running back pick in the first round. So all of that meant nothing as it all when it was all said and done.
Yeah, you ended up getting picked 8th overall by the St. Louis Cardinals. How did you feel like you're getting picked by the Cardinals?
Well, actually, the Giants came down on a Friday, I believe, and with Ray Perkins, and the Giants was drafted 7th in the first round, and they pretty much told me they're going to draft me. They said no doubt about it. They're 7th pick in the first round. I will be selected by them. So I called my agent up and asked my agent, can I tell the first 6 teams not to draft me? He said, if sure, if you want to. So I made a phone call. I put it out there to the what was back then. It was the network where you could put things out there. So I put it out there that I didn't want to play for Buffalo, didn't want to play for Denver, whatever those teams were. That was the first 6 teams. Um, I made it clear that I wouldn't be available. But that Sunday, the Cardinals called me when I was at my dorm, and they said they were drafting 8th in the first round, and that if I was available, would I, be willing to play for them? And I told them I would, but I doubt it because I had a verbal commitment from the head coach of the New York Giants that I would be drafted by them. But behold, I was drafted by the Cardinals. Never looked back since. Yeah.
What happened? Did you ever inquire to like why they reneged on their agreement?
Well, I later found out that the Giants felt that they can build a team around a quarterback quicker than they could a running back, and it makes sense. It makes sense. So that's why they drafted Phil Simms, and it all worked out. But yeah, it made a lot of sense when they said that. Yeah.
And you had one of like the best like all-time debuts for NFL running back. What was it like, playing your first game?
Well, what was unique about that was my senior year, the Super Bowl was at Miami. It was the Steelers against the Cowboys, and I was a runner for the both teams, meaning that I would go to the airport, pick up their families, and I remember picking up the Cowboys family first. Um, I remember picking up Gil. I can't think of his first name. But he was the player personnel for the Cowboy. Gil Brandt, that's what it was, Gil Brandt. And I remember coming into the locker room, not locker room, into the hotel, and I saw Harvey Martin, Too Tall Jones, Randy White. But then when I saw Robert Newhouse, I called my mom up and told him that these guys are humongous. I don't think I'll be able to play professional football. I felt I was just too small. And then the very next day, I picked up the Steelers family members and was in their lobby and saw Joe Green, Dwight White, L.C. Greenwood, and Donnie Shell and Jack Lambert, Jack Ham. But what blew me away was Mel Blount. When I saw him, Mel Blount, I thought was a tight end. When they told me he was a defensive back, I went back home, called my mom, and say, "Okay, it's a wrap. I ain't playing professional football." And believe it or not, I think my first two games of my rookie season, or first three games of my rookie season, were against the Cowboys, and I think the next game was against the Steelers. And after two games, I had Darian 400 yards.